All right, guys. So we'll start. We let's see who. So we have 15 good audience live watching us on YouTube at the moment. So I guess
Great.
it's the right time to start and entertain the first 15 audience who have joined us. So hello everyone. Welcome to live AMA session 2.0. We have Ishmeet Singh, co-founder Simplified Automation, and Hemant Pandey from Tesla with us today. They'll be taking on over your questions related to studies overseas, environment overseas, or what are the ecosystem overseas. Then again, about entrepreneurship, about how to land up in good jobs, how to tackle entrepreneurship, how to get good internships, and anything and everything related to your academics as well as your uh, education and career. So we'll start with a brief round of introduction from Hemant. Hemant, please can you tell us about a bit about yourself?
So, hello guys, I'm Hemant Pandey and I'm a proud MAITian passed out from the batch 2016. Currently, I'm working as a software engineer at Tesla Motors, and previously I had a internship with Amazon Inc. So, like just after completing my bachelor's, I shifted to United States for my master's, and it's pretty good. I'm doing pretty well here, and you might find me sleepy because it's 7 in the morning on a Sunday, and I'm still waking up answering your questions. So sorry. So I pass over
Ishmeet?
to Ishmeet. Yeah.
Thanks, Hemant. My name is Ishmeet, and I graduated from GTBIT in 2015. I did my master's from Queen's University in Kingston and in computer engineering. I worked with RBC for quite a while after that, Royal Bank of Canada, and then during that period, I also started my entrepreneurship career. I did my first startup in India when I was in GTBIT, and it went on. We did a few cool things, and then we sold it off. Um, this one simplified automation is mainly about building software for manufacturing companies. We'll talk a little bit more about it later, but yeah, just to say that I've been leading the development here, and yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's been hectic, as Hemant said. Like it's 10:30 here, but I'm still sleepy. So yeah, looking forward for a great session. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ishmeet, and thank you very much, Hemant, for spending out time from your busy schedules and spending out time from your good or good sleeps. So good morning, both of you. I hope a cup of coffee would work for both of you as we go on and move forward with some interesting questions about your journey, about your life. And
Definitely.
perfect. So I'll start. Before we start, I would actually love to ask Hemant and Ishmeet, both of you, about your journey, how you get to reach your particular destinations, how you get to start your startup, and how you get to get inside Tesla. So a bit, can you? That would be great if you can share a bit about your journey and experiences in your various phases of life.
Okay. So I'll start first. So like I completed my masters and I already made up my mind in third year that I'm going to pursue masters after my bachelor's. So I applied to like 9 or 10 universities and I got 5 admits. So like the most important for factors for me for selecting any university was primarily the coursework. So I looked over the coursework from my admitted universities, and like since I've graduated from Stony Brook University, so Stony Brook University is good for systems, and they have a very distinguished professors and ample opportunities. And also one more factor which was very important to me, since I think for every like Indian student, cost is a primary factor too, because most of us belong to the middle class category. So Stony Brook, since it was a state university, uh, I would say that the total amount that has needed for me to complete my masters would be somewhere around 25 to 30 lakhs. So it was like a kind of a decent amount if you compare it with other universities as well. So I decided to pursue Stony Brook for its coursework opportunities and of course the cost factor. And like Stony Brook has I think it was the best decision I've ever made in my life, because I'm not talking about me that I got placed in a very good company. All of my friends, I think 20% of the batch goes to Facebook, Google, and like the other 30%, 40% goes to VMware. And like these are pretty good companies. If you see in New York, the students are placed in Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, all the financial firms. Uh, and one thing I would I'll say that there's a difference. Like in India, we are not taught in our colleges like how to compete with the outside world, or like how do we have to face the industry, or like in interview what are they going to ask. I have attended interviews in like MAIT also. The placement wise, mostly they're going to ask is like you couple of easy coding questions, or mostly it was like kind of a behavioral round. If you see interviews for Accenture or like Infosys, mass recruiter companies, but here they mostly focus on your coding skills. So if you are like prepping up for the coming here and getting a good job, then I would say that start focusing on your coding skills. I didn't focus on my coding skills in my bachelor's, so I quite faced a lot of problems here. I had to start my coding, work on my algorithms, data structure. So if you have actually are prepared for that kind of shift, then you might not face as many problems here also in finding a decent job.
Superb, superb. Ishmeet, can you share your experiences in your various phases of life?
Right. So I applied to, I think, 4 to 5 universities in Canada, and Queens was the only place where I got the admission. And Queens, my journey at Queens was very exciting, and I went through many ups and downs there. Sometimes it was, things were very easy. Sometimes it was very hard that you could not figure out how to do stuff. I agree with Hemant on, focusing on your conceptual part, because similar thing happened with me. And if you want to land a good job, if you want to, work out a good university, you might get admissions, but to go through it, you should be good in your conceptions, right? And if you perform well, people value your skills, and you get your value, and things are really good. Um, Talking about landing a job at RBC, it was pretty good. I did my co-op there as well, so I was familiar with the culture. Similar type of questions, basic conceptual, programming skills, uh, different like design patterns, everything. Um, then I went on starting my this company which I founded now, Simplified Automation. Its uh, journey here was very, it was it was not smooth. So uh, I believe like finding a good team is one of the best things you can do in a startup, and believing in your idea. So when we started, we were not really sure that this is going to work out or not, but we believe that this is going to change something. Um, and that went out well, and now we see that people are adopting it, and companies are responding positive to it. So yeah, got it.
Perfect. Very inspiring journey out from both of you. Like, I can see you both pass out from tier two colleges, the IP University, and still manage to get into good phases of your life. So that's kind of an inspiration for all of us. So I guess, let's get started. So first question for you, Hemant, is
Yep.
what is the working culture in Tesla, and how to get into Tesla specifically? Because Tesla is, when we talk of good software industries, we go for Google, we go for Facebook, like we consider them the unicorns. But when we
Yeah.
think of Tesla, so the things perspective changes a bit. So what is
Yeah.
your view on it? Like how to get
Uh,
into big companies like Tesla?
Yeah, so I have applied to the companies you mentioned as well: Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Tesla is also a pretty great company to work for. So, like during the internship, I got into Amazon internship, but for the full time, since I do not have much work experience on my resume, or like whatever the factors, they have hired too many people, so I did not get calls from both Google and Facebook. So I was lucky enough to get a Tesla call. So the work culture, if you ask me about Tesla, like because as you know, the Tesla has just founded in like 9 or 8 years later. So they are still in the following that startup culture, open desk culture, like moving fast. They do doing, there's no bureaucracy in the company. Like if you have to get things done, it's pretty easy. If you have to adapt to a new technology, you just need to get your manager's approval. So yeah, the company is very progressive and it's quite fast, moving very fast. So if you are like working for Tesla, then I think it would be equivalent to working 1 year in a like a different company, because like things here are like people are very passionate and very skilled as well. I've seen many engineers who have left Apple and Google and they're working for Tesla. One main reason, if you ask them that why have you left Google, would be like they want to progress, or like they like the Elon's vision towards changing the world and everything. But yeah, so I've worked with Amazon also for like a 3 months, and even Amazon is following the same startup culture. They have like they are, I think they were established in 1994. Since they are like working very fast, and they are, as you can see, Amazon stocks are growing very fast and the company is growing very fast. So I think if the company needs to progress, then it's important they should progress fast and motivate their employees as well. But yeah, like I would say that working for these companies would be hectic as well, because they expect you a lot and you have to deliver things for these companies. And yeah, like especially for Tesla, I would say that like it would need a lot of hectic schedule, hard work, and like you might have to work over the weekends as well if the like if they need, or like because it's a progressive culture, it's a new company and they want to progress, they are in their growing stage, and it's like true for them to expect as well.
Perfect. So that's with any or every startup you join in. So just
Yeah, mostly the startup culture is like in United States, it's mostly this kind of.
so a small question about me. Have you met Elon Musk yet? Or how many times have you met
Mm,
Elon Musk?
no, I haven't met because I have just joined recently. He was not there at the orientation, and he is mostly busy with his Mars program, SpaceX program, so I didn't get a chance to meet him yet now.
Perfect. So hope you get to meet him someday and get us a
Mm,
good photograph as well.
yeah.
So moving on to the next question. So it's for both of you, Ishmeet and Hemant. The question is how to choose among MBA, MS, or MTech, and what is the core difference between MTech and MS here and there?
Okay. So, uh, so like I was very clear that I have to go for MS because I want to stick to my technical lines. Also, I was in a view that MBA I could do anytime later in my life. Maybe I don't need to do an MBA, or maybe I do it 5 years later or 10 years later from now. But since I wanted to stick to my technical background, so I decided to opt for MS. One thing I see a difference between MS and MTech is that even MS in United States comes in two flavors. One is you can do it with thesis. So some people, some of my fellow mates as well, they are doing research under any professor. They have one or two patents. They are like sticking to a particular field. You can say artificial intelligence, natural language processing, or computing. So they are sticking to a particular field. They're going in depth, and they have some patents in that, so you can do a research based MS as well. So I believe that research based MS is close to the MTech in India. It's just a different name for here in US. And the one which like I did, or most of the Indians who are looking for a better job come to US. So they usually do the non-thesis MS. So that is usually like based on completing your courses, studying for the interviews, giving interviews, getting a decent job. So in my university, if you do MS with thesis, it usually takes you 2 years. And if you are doing MS like without thesis, it takes 1.5 years. So like that's the key difference. So, and if you are like confused, even I was confused, like should I go for MBA, should I go for MS, then I think you should better know it, because if you want to stick to your technical background, then MS would be good. If you want to, if you're bored, if you don't like coding, or if you have passion in other fields, you want to be a HR recruiter or something, be into sales, be into finance, then I think MBA would be a good option for you as well.
Perfect.
So
Ishmeet, your view on this?
Yeah, I sort of agree with what Hemant said. It's similar in Canada that MS is mostly toward research. There's another program called Masters of Engineering, or you can compare that to MTech maybe. But Masters of Engineering or MN, it's non-thesis based. You don't have to write a thesis. Go for co-ops or internships and do some courses. So that's the key difference between MS and MN. Also, there's a difference between the length. As Hemant said, MS is mostly 2 years. MN is 1 to 1.5 years, and MBA is definitely altogether a different thing. So if we talk about how to choose between one of these, if you want to go for something technical, you believe in your technical skills, choose one of the MS and MTech. Uh, Even further, you should know that you want to do research or not, because research is not something which is gonna make you, it's not gonna make you a wizard overnight. It's just gonna be, it depends on your interest level, and it also depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a PhD, if you're looking for being a professor at a university, that makes sense to do MS. But if you want to go to industry, you want to try new things, I think MN is a good option. If you want to do MBA, if that, as I said, it's totally a different thing, and it should depend on how you're going to carry your next 5 years, right? As Hemant said, you can do any of these things at any point in your time, at any point in your life ahead, right? So MBA is mostly for people who don't want to grow technical, who know that they cannot really do technical stuff. They cannot write code. They cannot, you know, do anything related to technical like DevOps or maybe testing or something. So if you know that, it's actually very good. So don't feel bad about it that I cannot do technical stuff. It's good that you know what you want to do. So in that case, it's better to do MBA. Or there's also another option which is called Masters of Science in Management or Masters in Engineering Management, which is not really an MBA. It's a science course, it's an engineering course, but it's mostly focused towards uh, management so that you can also learn both the aspects. So yeah, these are the major differences if you're looking to choose something.
Perfect. I guess that was a pretty detailed description of both. So, your view on doing MTech or masters from Indian ecosystem, or moving overseas and doing MS or MH. So, what is the key difference between the two? What are the opportunities which lie as after both the swings? Ishmeet,
yeah, I think okay.
go on him.
Sorry, go ahead, Hemant.
Okay. So what I was saying that of course the Indian education system is very competitive. So of course if you're doing MTech you want to do it from one of the IITs, one of the premier institutes in India, which would require you to get a 80 plus or 70 plus gate score, which is really not that easy. It's more easier to give a like a GRE and getting into a university in United States. So like one reason most of the people, I'm not saying that they don't try gate, so people try gate, they do not get success because India has a huge population. There's a lot of competition, and like it's very difficult to get on the top and get into a premier institute in India. But I would say that even in India, because I have seen like most of the I live in the Silicon Valley, I live in the Bay Area. So most of the companies they are driven by Indians here only. You can name it Google, Facebook, Tesla, or Amazon, Apple. I think I would say that 50, 60% of the engineers working in these big companies are Indians only. So they know how skilled Indians are. So even if you're doing a MTech from a like a good institute like IITs, so on campus they got companies like Google and Facebook and they get good offers. So it's all about the, I think, the skills you possess. Opportunities, maybe you do not have that as big opportunities as they are in United States, but still you have ample opportunities if you are doing it from a good institute. I'm talking about the MTech from the IITs. And so I think there are ample opportunities in India, and in the long time, you want to decide where you want to live and how you want to take your life ahead. Because even long time, I do not have much longer plans of staying in US. So maybe down the line, 4 to 5 years or maybe 6 years, I would like to get back to India, get a job there. I have my family there. So like it depends on your circumstances, how you want to lead your life. And I'd say that they are like Indian market is growing twice or thrice as fast as United States. So I think the market would be blooming, and there would be, or there have been ample opportunities in India as well.
All right. I think, yeah, to a similar point, if you talk about the difference between cultures, is of course there's a day-night difference of how things progress. But as I've of course I've not done my master's in India, so I don't know what's the exact culture, how things proceed there. But what I can tell, the difference between my bachelor's and my master's in both the countries is that was day and night difference for me. Courses were mostly focused towards the recent technologies. They were more focused towards what's more important. It wasn't bookish at all. We always, I think it should be same for him, but we always used to study from research papers. We never used textbooks. And our professors were mostly concerned about what's in the market right now, and what are the core fundamentals needed to execute that skill. So we were more focused towards like practical stuff, even in our courses, in our classes, and that made a lot of difference, because as you do your classes, it naturally makes you, a little bit better on practical skills, which you need in the industry. So it's all very natural, and as you go on, it doesn't feels like you have been doing this explicitly, and it doesn't feels like a burden. Um, so yeah, that in that sense, it's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you, Ishmeet. I guess it makes things more clear now. So next question comes out, like it's again related to overseas studies. So the question says, did you guys get any scholarship for your program at your respective universities? If yes, what is the key procedure of getting one? So we'll start with Hemant and then come.
Yeah. So I apply, as I mentioned, I applied to like 10 universities, and before I applied to Stony Brook, I talked to alumni and seniors, and they already told me that Stony Brook, you have like 1% chance of getting a scholarship here because it's a pretty good school, very competitive. And so I did not get any scholarship, and maybe I think I know nobody in my batch who got any scholarship. But after you come here, you can get into teacher assistants, research assistants, student assistants, and because it's a 1.5-year course in Stony Brook, so you have to complete like 4 courses in a semester, which is very hectic, if you ask me, because then you do not get much time to part time. So yeah, TA, RAs are the only options left from which you can like sponsor your money or pay back your loans off. But getting like a scholarship at the time of admission, it's very difficult in Stony Brook universities. I know people who have been from IIT Delhi who have get their double digits rank, so they do not got any scholarship. I know people who have scored 340 out of 340 in GRE. So I'm talking about my classmates. So they even he did not get any scholarship. So I think there's no culture of scholarship at the Stony Brook University. But if you ask about my friends, I have my friends studying in UT Dallas. So I think they get some scholarship at the time of admission. So it depends on university to university.
Yeah, same for me. I didn't really get any scholarship, and mostly scholarship were for Canadian students or permanent residents. So as an international student, there's very less options that you can pursue. Each of the scholarship pool is reserved for uh, some kind of people, right? There's a little bit of criteria there, like who can get this scholarship. So even if you apply and you don't fall into that criteria, you won't really get it. So as an international student, there are very less options that you can apply on. But there's no harm trying. So yeah, and Queens wasn't really expensive. So if you compare to US, which Hemant was mentioning before. I think Queens was probably about half of that. Um, yeah, about $35,000, which is not bad. Yeah.
So do Queens provide scholarship, or like is there any procedure of getting it?
Uh, there's there are a couple ways to get it. So there's one. So two paths basically. So there's not like one scholarship here. So one path is to get a scholarship from university, and the second path is there are few groups, or you can say there are few charities or something. You can I don't exactly know the name for those type of groups, but there's a group which focuses on one specific kind of student. For example, an Aboriginal student. So there's a scholarship for Aboriginal student from that group. There's a scholarship for, let's say, South African government has a scholarship for South African student. So they choose one of them. So these groups are mostly focused on one specific category of people, and they can be built by anyone. And Queen scholarship is mostly based on merit, and it's mostly in the undergrad courses. On graduate level, you don't really expect a lot of scholarships. The reason being, at Queen's specifically, people doing Masters of Science, they get 100% funded. So if 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 a professor doesn't have funds to pay your tuition and pay you as well, they won't really accept you. So Queens has an advantage of that you don't have to pay anything for a research master's based program. When it comes to a non-research or non-thesis master's program, you still have to pay, but it's, as I said, it's not really competitive. And since there's a culture of you know funding for masters, they don't really have a lot of scholarship programs for merit-based graduate students. Yeah.
So we can say it's more or less like crowdsourcing or crowdfunding your master's program if you want to like don't pay the financials yourself or you cannot pay the financials of yourself.
Sort of like you have to get into thesis program. You know there are variables to it. Like the company is funded. Like I know IBM, Apple, and Google used to fund our masters at Queens, but it comes to professors. So you don't have to approach these companies. You have to go to these professors, and these professors in turn um, take your interviews and all that stuff before admission. So yeah, you can say it's sort of crowdfunding, but it's coming specifically from a few companies or some alumni who have been recently. When I was there, Queens got a $50 million funding. The business school got a $50 million funding from Mr. Smith, who's an alumni at Queens, and now he's an entrepreneur. Um, so those type of donations keep coming in, and they are being used by the university somewhere or the other.
All right. So moving ahead of education and coming to your professional lives. So the first question here stands out is where should we focus in the starting period of our career? Be it higher packages or good profile, good skills, work culture, or our comfort. So what should we focus on before getting into a professional life?
I think so. That would be a combination. You need a higher package because you have to pay off your loans. You are in your early stages of work experience, so you want to learn more so that you don't have to face much of the problems later in your life. And as you mentioned, the last point, that the comfort, I think since you are in your initial stages, it's yet the time to learn. Your brain is more active right now, so I think you should set apart your comfort first, and the top priority should be like learning more and more, because you get your skills first, and after that you can shift to different companies, get higher packages eventually. uh, so, and after that, of course, money is important for all of us. We have our student loans to pay off back, we have our families to support and everything. So I would say that the top priority, which was for me, and I think if I'm not wrong, it should be for anybody, was to get into a great company, learn good skills, and then finally you can decide if you want to stay with the company, you want to progress in your life, you want to make a switch or anything. uh, and then money would automatically come if you are a good engineer. And so I think, like, I'm not sure about in India, But in United States, if you are talented, if you are a skilled engineer, you have all the updated skills and everything, I think then you like could be a millionaire as well.
Perfect. Anything, Ishmeet, you want to add over this?
Uh, I feel, yeah, at very early stage of your life, just focus on learning a lot, because as Simon said, the money comes in automatically, and uh, companies come on automatically. So it's very important for you to keep learning and spend as much time learning as you can. Uh, it's not. It seems pretty easy in school that we do a algorithm and we say we did it, but implementing it in practical in the applications, in the business applications, it's not straightforward, right? You have to figure out what type of models you're going to use, or all that stuff. Not going to get into detail about that, of course, but what I would say is just focus on building up your skills. uh, Go into the company where you can be taught, where when there's someone to mentor you, who understands the problem of a fresher, who understands the problem of how um, you know what challenges you're going to face as you start writing code for first time. um, yeah, I think that's the most important area for you to focus on.
Right. So next question, Hemant, as in the beginning you said that your coding skills were not up to the mark until your graduation, and you worked a lot over your coding skills when you actually like in the later duration of your career. So can you please give us some tips on how to improve our coding skills, or what are the key channels of improving our coding skills?
Yeah, so I think that actually depends on an environment. In our bachelor's, my friends do not used to code. There was not a like a proper environment provided by the college, or like myself was not that motivated enough, or that we were of the view that okay, we'll get some job, maybe not. It's like we'll get any of the job. So, but here when I landed at Stony Brook universities, most of the people were from IITs and ITs. They have a good background in coding. They used to perform like participate in coding competitions. They know everything. So if you want to survive with them, then you have to like keep abreast of their skills. So I started practicing like as soon as I entered the United States. I started practicing on my coding skills. uh, so you like, since you're a computer students, you would be having a basic knowledge of data structures and what are the algorithms, at least like intermediate level experience in one of the coding languages, be it .NET, be it Java, be it JavaScript. So I started practicing. The best platform I would say to practice coding would be either LeetCode or HackerRank. I did LeetCode for all my interviews. So it was a pretty good platform in which you can see questions, you write your code, and then they run a set of test cases and tell you, okay, here your code breaks and everything. So like start with, like to kick off, I would say start with any of the platform, Geeks for Geeks or HackerRank or LeetCode. And after that, because just writing the code is not enough, you have to be uh, like you should know what would the code do if I make this change. How would I optimize this code? What would like work better here? I be if I'm trying recursion or dynamic programming. So I would say like these things will like eventually start coming in your mind once you start. So it's like important once you start first. And yeah, so like if you want to get a decent job or internship in US, the most important thing would be your problem solving ability and your ability to write the code. So they in the interviews, even in MS coursework, they have theoretical courses as well. But in the interviews, I have never seen a single round of interview. I have given like 15 interviews, and I have never seen a single round of interview in which they have asked something about your courses. Okay, so you have taught this in algorithm. Tell me the like how the algorithm works. They do not ask such questions. They just give you a problem. They see your approach. They see how like what skills you possess, and like how is your ability to write the code. They use whiteboard. You need to explain your solutions on the whiteboard. Then they'll give you a coding sharing screen. You write your code and they see and how optimized the code is, and if you're able to explain that or not. So I think the most important thing would be to your ability to write code, and especially your like how the way you are thinking you're approaching the problem and your problem solving ability regarding that.
So Hemant, any good online platforms you would like us, you would
Yeah,
suggest us to?
I mentioned I used leadcode.com. So leadcode.com, I find it very helpful, and it's I took the premium subscription of that also, and it was like pretty helpful in all the interviews and everything. You can try on HackerRank as well and Geeks for Geeks as well, but I say that leadcode was good.
Hmm. Ishmeet, would you like to add something over this? Like you have been a super coder throughout your life now. iOS development, like it's so you are with RBL iOS development in your college life also you used to do some coding. So any suggestion for the students on how can they improve their coding?
Well, thank you for the compliment, by the way. Honestly, I feel there's still a lot of room for me to improve. And talking about myself, it was very gradual, to be honest. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen like it improved as I came to Canada, but it's not like it happened there. I would say focus on the problems. As Hemant mentioned, that you do an algorithm, it focuses on one type of problem, and the algorithm usually just tells you they bound you in some rules, and then you follow those rules and you get an answer, right? You do that with the sample data set, for example, an array of integers. But practically applying that algorithm to a real world problem is altogether a different thing, right? Most of us, we do learn about design patterns in our bachelor's and master's. But when you start building your applications, when you start building business applications, and how you apply these concepts to uh, these applications, that's more important. And for that, you definitely need that base. But keep trying applications is one of the sorry, that's one of the key, right? So you have to be making some dummy projects. You have to be practicing outside your courses, outside your program, to focus on honing these skills gradually. It's not going to happen overnight. So trust me, you have to have patience. You have to understand that this is not something that that I can read and it's going to come into me. No, it's something that you do, you fail, you do again, you fail again, and you fail 10 times, and the 11th time you'll say, oh, this is what I was looking at, right? So again, focusing on problem is more important. Read as much as you can. I read a lot, not novels, of course. I read a lot of blogs about, you know, it could be anything related. For example, there's something called retain cycles, like retain cycles in iOS. There's something called retain cycles. It's like a concurrency problem. It's a very vastly asked question. It's a very important concept in iOS. And so these type of concepts, just keep reading anything you're interested in. If you're interested in JavaScript, start reading about JavaScript. There are a lot of people, and mentorship is really important. So I follow a lot of people who are good in iOS and Swift. Uh, Lately, I've been following people who are good in JavaScript. So just be on internet. Internet is a huge resource, as you guys know. It's marvelous. It's incredible, and you can learn a lot from there. So make your mentors. Follow good people who have good skills.
All right. So we'll say the more you read, the more you learn. So let's take it as a mantra for our success. So moving on, Ishmeet, we have another question for you. It's Dipanshi want to ask, what are the key skills needed for entrepreneurship? So I would like to add something over this. Like you have been from both the phases of life. You have been into corporate job as well, and you have worked as an entrepreneur, started your own startup, worked like I assume you must have worked 24 hours a day. So what are the key skills which are required for entrepreneurship? And what is the key difference between a corporate job and if you want to start your own startup? Another question I want to add here: what is the key difference between the startup ecosystem here in India and in Canada and US and outside India?
Okay. Starting off with the skills needed for entrepreneurship, if you need 2 skills to do a job, you need 200 skills to run a startup. And trust me, none of us would be perfect in those 200 skills. So don't think that if you don't have these skills, you cannot do it. It's as you go with it, you build it. So talking specifically about a few things which I believe are really, really important is first thing I would say is leadership. So leadership is sometimes being, it's misconceptually being understood as something that you can guide people on how to, you can guide your team on how to solve a problem. But I think leadership is much more than that. You definitely do that, but you go one step ahead. You get in the shoe of your team. You talk to them. What's their problem? You go out with them. You understand their problems. You treat them as a family, right? You help them move forward. You don't really just have to get the work done. You have to make sure that there are always challenges for your team to break through. If your team doesn't feel challenged, trust me, they won't perform, right? So leadership is something really, really important. You have to understand what phases is your company going through. You can think about it in a way that there are multiple key people in a startup. Like there are CEOs, there are COOs, and CFOs and CTOs, right? If you talk about each of these people, they need to understand the cross-domain information. For example, if I am a development lead, we don't have C-level designations in our company. We don't believe in just calling ourselves chief officers as of now. So as a development lead, I need to understand what's the business perspective. The business people here in our company, they need to understand what's the technical perspective, why we are facing this problem, why it's going to take us this much time to solve this problem. So that's one thing. Problem solving is another skill, another thing that you need to have. Problem solving is not really you solve every problem. Problem solving literally means that you approach every problem. You shouldn't just give up and say, hey, this can't happen. Honestly, 100% of the problem we face, 99.9% of problems are solvable. Today or tomorrow. It might take you some time, but trust me, they are solvable. So don't say it's not solvable. You can solve it. There might be something practically you cannot do, but most of the problems you definitely can solve. So take them as a challenge. Do it. Like, don't at least try doing it. Move in right direction, and talk to people. Again, mentorship is very important in startups as well. So any key person in any startup you would see, they would definitely be following someone or learning from someone continuously, not just once. Help your team, and most importantly, the next two things I'm going to say, I feel that's the biggest thing I have understood as being in startup culture. Make practical decisions. Don't make impractical decisions. If you're making an application that's going to take you 3 months to build, don't say you cannot do you can do it in 1 month. You cannot. If it's going to take you 3 months, then take 3 months, make a good product, and then go out in the market. Don't just just for the sake of it, just because you're passionate. Don't think anything's going to happen overnight. So make practical decisions, and get into practical world. Don't think that this will happen like this. And the next most important thing is accept your mistakes. I feel a lot of startups don't accept their mistakes at very early stage. So when you accept your mistake, you start working to fix your mistakes, right? So when you start fixing your mistakes, your company automatically grows, right? So it's better that you accept it. Don't say, because I've seen some people saying that I did this and it didn't work out for them. No, it did not work out for them because you did not do it correctly, right? Because you have to understand your customer's perspective. You don't have to build something just because you like it. You have to build something which customers like. I think these are the most important skills you would be needing as a startup. There are many others, they're countless, but as I said, you don't have to be perfect on everything. you gradually learn them as you do your journey. And difference between corporate job and startups is, again, it's day and night difference. It's like working for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day versus working 24/7. So the sleep is the only time you're not working. And sometimes even sleep doesn't spare you. While in your dreams, you're just solving problems. And I think this only does not happen in startups. It happens with people who are working in corporate, but they're passionate about their work, right? So if you're a good engineer, you're really passionate of what you're doing, uh, let alone engineer or other thread. If you're really passionate, you probably would be solving problems in your dreams, and the next morning you wake up, you say, oh, hey, I got the solution while I was sleeping, right? So literally, you have to be present all the time. You have to be present for your team. You have to answer questions for your customers. A lot of things around that. So there's a lot of difference. I cannot really comment about the startup culture in India because, well, I did my own startup, but I didn't really work with someone very closely to have a good understanding of that. But what I can suggest is, as I said, start making practical decisions, accept your mistakes, and be humble. Be there when your team needs you, and team is very important.
Yeah, super, Ishmeet, super. I guess all the entrepreneur freaks here who are seeing themselves starting up in next few couple of months or in couple of who are just planning to start. I guess this was a good piece of advice for them to being passionate, to start thinking about the problems which they can solve and to work 24/7 around it. For those who are looking to have a difference between corporate and startup job, I guess it's also clear to them. Like it's day and night difference, and I hope they can take a better decision now whether they want to impact the society with a startup or they want to impact a particular job position with their skills. So moving on, next question for Hemant is, Hemant, Aditya wants to ask, what kind of difficulties did you face while moving out from India to US, and how did you tackle them? So I guess this question applies for both of you. So I would request Hemant and then Ishmeet to take briefly over this. Hemant, you are on mute. Can
Yeah,
you please unmute yourself?
yeah. So as I mentioned that since the question is from like how difficulties you face from India or if you're from MAIT. So I would say that in MAIT we do not have a kind of much of a intense coding environment. Uh, so I'd say that I faced like a lot of difficulties here when I need to like tackle or survive with people with like a proper background. They are from IT Delhi, they are from like NIT Trichy and everything. So it was really difficult to survive with those people. But I think like you have to adapt yourself, you have to survive, you have to get a decent job, you have loans to pay. So eventually you would learn with them, you would sit with them and ask them, okay, how should I do this, I have to get a job. And people are really helpful here also in United States as well. So it would eventually be very good. But like recently I've been following MAIT pages quite recently, and it is very good to see they are organizing the coding events or like kind of seminars in the colleges, which I think would be really helpful to the students. And if you are looking for doing your masters from US, then I must say that your GPA is very important. uh, People say that you can get easy marks in IP universities, or everybody's GPA is high. It's kind of true, but yeah, try to maintain the GPA. As I mentioned, that you should be having a balance of your GPA and your like coding skills. So try to maintain the GPA, or unless you want to get a good university, and then if you are not into a good university, then you will be facing difficulties in getting interview calls and there would be less opportunities for you. So try to maintain a good GPA and start working on your coding skills in the background as well. So yeah, I faced like a lot of difficulties developing my coding skills, but eventually over time, as Ashmeet mentioned, it's not a gradual process. You have to keep work every day and you learn new things every day. And like the process helped in like getting you a good coder, good developer, and eventually a good engineer.
Ishmeet, the problems you face and how you tackle them.
I would say I face a little bit problem when So first time you sit in university with these people you don't know, and from different cultures from all across the world, and different ethnicity. Okay, so you guys, it's very different. It's like you are scared a little bit. It's not easy to sit with them for the first time. And what happened with me, like when in the process of being taught in the lectures, so people used to ask the questions which were way beyond my understanding. I sat in a design course, and it was a design evolution, how design patterns work, how anti-patterns work. So yeah, what happened, like the questions asked by students were like totally mind blowing. I was like, what am I doing? I'm not even at that level. So what I understood from that is people graduating from these universities in Canada, they are the undergrads. They already have probably couple years of experience because they do co-ops, they do internships, and internships and co-ops are very serious in Canada. At least I believe in US as well. So these people are already from a corporate background. They understand the real world problems, and their questions are marvelous. So, but at point when you're scared as well, so don't think that you cannot do that. It's just matter of time, and you get along with these people. That's amazing. Like you can learn from these people. So just be with them and learn with them.
Super. So next question again that comes in the line of education. Rajat is asking, apart from good GRE scores, what are the other credentials required to ensure a good admission in top foreign universities for MS program? So we'll quickly take on this question, Ishmeet and Hemant. We are really short with time, and I want to cover maximum number of questions. So very quickly now, what are the key credentials apart from GRE scores to take admission into good foreign universities?
Yeah, so I mentioned that GPA is very important to get into a foreign university. Your GRE score is the next thing. And apart from that, if you have any research papers or patents or any research experience, so people in US are like the universities really look for it. So it would be great if you have a good GPA, GRE score, research papers. And apart from that, you should draft your statement of purpose, which we call SOP, in a like a pretty good way, in a story kind of way, so that it looks good and helps you getting fetching good admission. So these are the most important four factors, I think, which would be like make a good profile and help you get a good admit.
Ishmeet?
Yeah, I sort of really agree with that. Keep practicing, build good skills, make a good resume, not a fake one, real one, and yeah, just work on your skills. It's not rocket science to get into these universities. It's pretty easy. Just maintain your GPA and good scores, and have those skills in your hand.
Mhm. All right. So next question here now it's related to internships. So Hemant, can you tell a bit about your experience with Amazon when you interned with them? Also,
Yeah,
please try to include in very short, like what are the key factors while joining a particular recruiter with an internship, or how to prepare for it. Also, please try to include what are the process of getting internship in first year of your MS, first year of your masters.
got it. So, since I landed as a fresher here, I had no X experience. So it was like, I thought it would be very difficult for me to getting calls or cracking the interviews. But I would say that if you are in a good university, so I won't say that Stony Brook is like the best university, but for me it was a very good university. All the people were getting plenty of opportunities. So during the internship time, also I gave interviews for Google, Facebook, Amazon, and like all the big companies which you dream to work for. So I would say that internship process is much easier than full time. So most of the interviews for internship are over telephonic interviews. So you have 2 or 3 rounds to crack an internship. For Amazon, I gave 3 rounds. One was a coding round, one was your like aptitude test, and then there was a telephonic interview with the like an engineer. And regarding application to the internship, I would say that it getting calls depends on your university. your alumni network, how your alumni have performed in different companies. I would say that try to get a referral, because networking is very important in here. And try to get a referral, try to know people who work in different companies through different platforms, like you have LinkedIn, you have Indeed, you have like various startups which are coming up, Angel List and everything. So try to maintain a good network with the people, ask them for the referral, and referral actually kind of works here. And try to find recruiters on LinkedIn, connect with them, send them emails that I want to work for the company, I'm very passionate about this company. And I would say that if you apply to like 300 companies here for internship, you would get 10 or 15 calls only. And then it depends on you, on your skills, then if you, how would you crack it. And like regarding my Amazon internship, it was really pretty good. As I mentioned, that the work culture in Amazon was really fast. I was a fresher. I have never worked in industry before, so I learned all the industry techniques and tactics and strategies, which eventually helped me in getting a good full-time job and building a high polished good resume. Hello, Ishmeet.
Hey, sorry, you were
Yeah, yeah,
waiting for me.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I thought she's gonna jump in. Anyway, so yeah, it's uh yeah, getting a co-op right. It's again, it's based on your skills and you know, uh, one thing that I want to focus on here, that my experience in India. I again came as a fresher, just as yourself, and my experience in India was all in internships and a little bit about my startup there, and also started doing iOS when I was in India. So when companies called me, they basically called me because I already had a couple apps on the App Store, so they could see my work. So having an app on the App Store, even though it's not the best one or it doesn't have a lot of downloads, is it's good because you have the credibility, because it tells the companies that you're serious about your job, what you're doing, right? If you're not in mobile apps, then you should have something which is on the internet. You should have something public to showcase, right? So I think that really helped. Uh, Internships again in India are pretty good, but just make sure that you make most out of it, and you should have something to, you know, show the credibility for that internship, right? So those help while getting co-ops, but I would say most importantly, um, it's uh, it's not just your experience. It's most importantly, it's how you showcase your work, and your work is definitely the most important thing, because that's what they're hiring you for. I think I think Hemant, you would agree, because landing in Tesla, they wouldn't really just hire you because you just solved the algorithm. You know, you did
Yeah,
something
totally,
special.
totally, totally. They'll see how you match up with the culture of the company. Are you passionate
Right,
enough to join? Do you have the required skills? So they look after everything. Even if you are in an initial stage with the recruiter, she tries to match your skills with company they require you or not. And then after they set you the interview with, and even in the
right.
interview, you are grilled technically as well as culturally.
It's actually it's funny that sometimes it's a little bit hard to convince the recruiter as well.
Yeah, yeah,
is the, is the
yeah,
HR,
yeah,
but you have to say your technical stuff so that they understand, because they have the
yeah, yeah,
keywords, right? That they're not
yeah,
really
yeah.
technical people.
Yeah,
It's funny.
that's totally, totally.
Okay, I guess Ashish is unavailable at the moment, so I'll be taking over. So one question that we are getting mostly on our feed, on our question feed is, first of all, it's a straightaway question, yes or no question. It's from Vishant Vora. It's for Hemant. His question is,
Okay.
are you on H1B visa? Yes,
No. So what happens is I am currently on my student visa from which I came to study. In student visa, if you are on a STEM means if you are from science, technical, engineering, or medical background, then you get a like 1 year OPT. for which you can work, and then 2 years of extension. So I can work here for 3 years minimum, and in these 3 years I would apply for H1B. So I have the, like, you don't file your H1B, your company files your H1B. So yeah, it's good to work for a company who can sponsor your H1B. So Tesla is sponsoring my H1B this year. H1B in US is a lottery based system. So if I'll get a H1B, then this year only, then I'll move to H1B. Otherwise I can like stay in US for 3 years of minimum. And like I haven't seen like a person who has been within, like, who hasn't got a H1B in lottery. If you won't get it first year, then you get it second year. And if you're working for a like a good company, big names, then like more like 99% of the chances are there that you'll eventually get your H1B in the 3 attempts.
Great, great, great. So another question is it necessary that you should be very, very passionate about coding if you want to do MS? Or
If you
yeah,
So if you want to do MS in computer science and you are not passionate about coding, then like it is kind of a dicey. You should think your decision, or you should be motivated and passionate before coming to MS and CS. Because I think the recruiters or the engineers mostly look for there is your coding ability and your problem solving ability. So if you are not that passionate about coding, there are other courses, management and engineering management, management of information science. So they are actually kind of mix of in like coding and management. They do not have much coding. But I'd say that if you are coming to United States, uh, like, and you are doing a technical job, they expect that you know how to code. And like, if you are looking for a like a decent amount of package, if you're trying to work for Google, Facebook, then I would think they mostly hire software engineers with a like a good coding ability and problem solving ability.
great.
Just sorry,
Yeah,
just to add on
sorry to
that,
interrupt.
being passionate really doesn't mean that you should know everything right now,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
being passionate means you should be able to learn it, you should be able to grab it. So don't feel
yeah,
discouraged that, if you don't really know how to write good code, you can't do it. You can
yeah,
definitely do it. Just in mind, you should be able to do it. You must have the ability to take on the challenge. If you have
yeah.
that's about being passionate.
You should be curious to learn. That's all.
Great,
Exactly,
great.
exactly.
So I guess with this we'll move to our last question, and
Okay.
that would be what would be the top five skills needed to be a top performer in your respective jobs as an entrepreneur overseas and as well as a person with a job. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, there are not five skills which I can mention. So, one would be the way you approach to a problem, and that surely comes with your gradual improvement. So, one would be the problem solving ability. Second would be the coding definitely. They don't necessarily ask you to code in Java or code in .NET or code in JavaScript. They just look at your approach to the problem and they ask you to code in any language you want. Because the people who interview they are very experienced. They have 5 or 6 years of experience. They have hands-on experience on like almost every language. And if they do not have language, they see your problem solving ability. And it's important you should keep update yourself with all the latest technologies which are coming up. You should be having, okay, what like the popular big data algorithms, or how does a cloud work. Because there are a lot of cloud companies here in United States and they are doing pretty well. You can say IBM Cloud or Google or Salesforce, VMware. They are doing really good. And so it would be good if you like, I'm not telling you to like learn everything what is cloud and everything, but you should have at least like a prior knowledge of what basic things related in computer science really are. There is like no language which you have to learn which is important or everything. Just focus on your coding ability, your approach, and problem solving.
Great. Ishmeet,
Uh, I would say similar stuff, problem solving, first thing, leadership, second thing. Even if you're in job, I would say leadership is very important because you deal with a lot of people. Uh, Team building is really, really important. Even if you're a good developer, you are not a team player. Uh, I don't think people would like you. So yeah, taking good decisions, be a good decision maker before taking decisions. Look at all the perspectives, understand the pros and cons of each decision, each option you have, then make a decision on that. And keep learning as you move on. There's never an end to learning. you're good in coding, start DevOps. If you're good in DevOps, start testing. Not in that sequence essentially, but in any sequence, just keep expanding your background.
Great, great, great. So I guess with this, I'll quickly ask you guys for a quick remark or whatever you feel you want to say or recommend to our fellow people who have joined us on YouTube. So we'll just do a quick round of this, and after that, I guess we'll end it.
Okay.
So yeah, Hemant, any recommendation that you for the people who have just tuned in or are
Yeah,
have been with us?
so in brief, I just go over that focus on your coding skills. I know that the environment in our BTech colleges isn't that much intense and isn't that much great, but let's start learning from your own. As I say, go to lead code, start practicing problems. It gradually improves, and focus on your GPA as well, because GPA is very important in getting a good admit, which will eventually lead to a good job. So, like, as since you are in a like I'm assuming you are a second or third year student who is looking for doing his master's in computer science. So I'd say start prepping up with the like your coding abilities, focus on your skills, and try to maintain a good GPA. And like it would really help you in the process of studying overseas and getting a decent package.
Ishmeet, your
Yeah,
views?
yeah, Ashmi.
Sure. I would say don't fear to fail. Keep failing as long as it doesn't hurt me in a big way. But yeah, so don't fear to fail. As Hemant mentioned, focus on your dev, write good code, keep learning, and keep trying. So don't just say, if I can't do this today, I cannot do this tomorrow. You can definitely do this tomorrow. If you're not able to do it today, give it some time, understand that, read about it, then you should be good. So in all the matters, just keep trying, and it's gonna be fine.
Great. I guess with this, we'll wrap up. I'd like to thank Hemant and Ishmi for your valuable time.
Thank you.
Ashish for
Thank you so
handling
much.
handling this whole
So,
session so beautifully. Yeah,
so
Ashish,
before we actually wrap up, I have a few like Hemant and Ishmeet. Can you please tell us like what is the best way to reach out in case our fellow students have any doubt or anything regarding their careers or how like if they want to reach out, what is the best way?
Yeah, you can connect with me on like LinkedIn or Facebook, or like I'm a social media freak. You would find me on all the social platforms, and so you can connect with me anywhere, and I would love to answer your questions and clear your doubts.
Yeah, similar, just use social media. I'm on almost all platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn. Emailing is a good option too. If you guys are good with emailing, just send me an email. I'm pretty quick on emails, more than messages. So yeah, if you guys have my number, just send me a text. Say hi.
Sure. Thank you very much for being so cooperative, Ishmeet and Hemant. So, before wrapping up, just one last question. Shivai, he is really very enthusiastic about it. So
Okay.
we'll quickly take it. Like he is asking the best computer science masters out of which country? Canada, Germany, USA, in terms of studies and in terms of after studies experience. Quickly.
uh,
You're on the hook.
yeah. So I'm not sure I would be like a best person to ask for, because I only have experience regarding United States. But I assume that most of the companies headquarters and like you have the Silicon Valley here, so I would think US would be like a better option if you want to proceed in your career as a good coder or as a like a good engineer.
Well, that's I guess Shivai would need to find someone else who can take over the comparison between Germany and USA. So with this, like I would mark an end to this amazing session. Thanking you both Hemant and
Thank you.
Ishmeet for taking out time out of your sleeps, taking out time out of your
Pleasure,
busy schedules and giving us
pleasure is
your
all mine.
good Sunday mornings to us. Also, I would like to thank all the lovely audience who joined us today for sparing out time and giving us their lovely Sunday evenings. So now that's how we work out of international time zones. Thanking you both, Hemant and Ishmeet. Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
so
Like
much.
we really look forward to more such guideful and more such experienced events with us for us and for the community. for the college students who here want to follow you guys, want to be like you, and see a big inspiration in you guys. So with this, I would also like to thank GDG MAIT and IIPC GTBIT for taking initiatives and conducting such sessions very frequently for the community. So and also to the audience, I'm sorry if I left out any of your important questions. Like there was a whole lot of flood of questions, and we had to only pick few because of time constraints. So you can reach out to Ishmeet and Hemant on their respective social media and get your queries cleared, or write back to us, and we'll try to arrange some similar session with some more experienced alumni of our colleges. Thanking you both. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Have a good day.
Thank you guys. Take care.